Have you guys seen the new Chris Brown documentary highlighting his abusive past? This documentary opened my eyes to Chris Brown. He has a long history of violence, and he is very problematic. I thought it was just a situation with Rihanna where he assaulted her. I didn't know that he had this many issues going on over the years, and this documentary really changed my mind about Chris Brown, and it makes me see him in a different light. Well, the new documentary just came out about 2 days ago. The documentary is called Chris Brown, A History of Violence, which is on the Investigation Discovery Network. So ID Network is the same network that aired Quiet Onset documentary, and if you don't know, that documentary was a big deal because it highlighted the behind-the-scenes abuse that happened on Nickelodeon, which tells me that this network has a bit of credibility, and they do their research before they go ahead and put things out in the public. A History of Violence covers the long and troubling timeline of abuse allegations against Chris Brown. It highlighted Chris Brown's entire history starting from the 2009 abuse that happened with Rihanna until now. We all know the infamous 2009 assault of his then-girlfriend Rihanna, where Chris pled guilty after photos surfaced showing her injuries. Chris was charged with a felony assault, and for making criminal threats, he also pleaded guilty to a felony, and he accepted a plea deal of community labor, and he received 5 years probation and domestic violence counseling for his assault against Rihanna. However, Rihanna and Chris reconciled in 2013 as boyfriend and girlfriend. They dated again until they broke up again. Then the documentary also went on to talk about the other legal troubles that Chris Brown had. It also talked about the scuffle he had with Drake's entourage at a hotel. It even talked about Chris's altercation with Frank Ocean over a parking space. Are you kidding me? Chris, you're fighting over a parking space. That is just unbelievable. I guess he is lucky that Frank Ocean did not press charges against him for that. In 2016, Chris Brown was also arrested on suspicion of assault with a deadly weapon. The police was called to his house where he was involved in a 9-hour standoff with the LAPD at his mansion after a woman called 911 claiming that he threatened her with a gun. The cops found a gun and drugs. Chris was taken into custody. The documentary also discussed several subsequent accusations from other women, such as ex-girlfriend Karrueche Tran, who obtained a 5-year restraining order against Chris Brown in 2017, alleging threats and physical abuse. Karrueche said Chris Brown punched her in her stomach and pushed her down the stairs. In 2018, Chris Brown was also accused of a sexual assault that happened at his house, where a Jane Doe claimed that Chris Brown took her phone and gave her a mysterious pill, and in addition to that, he also gave her alcohol. Out of this incident, Jane Doe's mother called the police, a lawsuit was filed, and in 2020, Chris Brown settled out of court based on what happened in 2018 of giving this girl and mysterious pill and giving her alcohol. In the documentary, there was also another Jane Doe who said she went on Diddy's yacht in 2020 where Chris Brown sexually assaulted her. And we all know that Diddy's son was accused of assaulting a woman on a yacht, and Diddy is currently in prison awaiting trial for assault and trafficking. So, if Diddy and his son are assaulting women, maybe it is true that Chris is also assaulting women because he was around Diddy, and being on Diddy's yacht makes me think there might be some validity to this Jane Doe claims. I am just saying birds of a feather flock together. Jane Doe stated in the documentary, Chris gave her drinks after drinks while they were having conversations. She drank them, and she started to feel tired, and her body felt heavy. And that was when Chris Brown led her to a bed on the yacht, where he sexually assaulted her. The same Jane Doe sued him for $20 million in 2020, and Chris Brown denied the claim. Chris Brown came back at her, saying their sexual encounter was consensual. The police claimed they didn't have enough evidence to charge Chris Brown with sexual assault. The lawsuit was dismissed without prejudice, meaning that the lawsuit could be refiled. And in 2022, Chris Brown was accused and detained on suspicion of rape that happened in 2019. This investigation of rape was dropped. Then Chris Brown later filed a defamation lawsuit against the woman in 2022, and the judge dismissed that case. In July 2020, Chris Brown and his entourage were accused of beating for men backstage after a show in Texas where they hit the plaintiffs in their heads and chest, then stomped on them while they were down. Chris and his crew brutally beat them. I also believe Live Nation Company, who was responsible for the tour, was also sued for $50 million after the attack. At least one of the men beaten remains hospitalized for a period of time after the beating. The beating happened because the 4 men were invited backstage at Chris's tour. They were 30 minutes late for the backstage meeting as the men were leaving. Chris Brown and his crew attacked them. I think that Chris Brown needs to get his life together. He has a track record of almost 20 years physically assaulting women and men, and there have been many alleged sexual assaults, rape accusations that came out against him. I think Chris Brown needs to change his life before he gets into trouble he cannot get out of. I also think he needs to go to counseling and work through the built-up anger and pain he has inside of him and do the hard work to become a better man for himself, his children, and the people around him. Chris Brown's repeated allegations of assault bring up significant concerns about violence and accountability, especially in the public sphere. Over the years, his pattern of violent behavior, particularly toward women, highlights the need for both the public and the music industry to address and respond to problematic behavior among high-profile artists. Despite the troubling accusations, Chris Brown has maintained a strong fan base, which sparks debate over how fame can sometimes shield individuals from full accountability. And this makes me start to wonder, I don't think that we should continue supporting people who are like Chris Brown. We shouldn't be buying their music or concert tickets. We should stop showing up for their appearances when they treat people like crap. A part of me feels like we, the consumers, need to be more aware of what these people are like so that we do not continue to support them financially, because when they are rich, they become ego-driven, where they lose their sense of morality and do bad things like assaulting people. Chris definitely needs to stick with anger management to help him control his anger. Thank you for watching, and please check out my other videos.